Good morning, everybody. Um, I hope you had a easy time to come to this hotel. Okay, here it is. Okay. Good morning, distinguished partners, and more importantly, distinguished guests. A special shout out to my friends from Comsa Club. They are also here. Some of our members from Comsa Club. So I am Susanna Harding. I come from the International Longevity Center, Singapore, or ILC-S, as my colleague Ron has mentioned. ILC Singapore is actually one of the 5 initiatives of the foundation. Our role is to catalyze high-level, high-impact policy-relevant research, and we are the nexus between our research and our practice. This panel was organized by ILC to set the stage for what the foundation would like to catalyze in Singapore at the national level and in partnership with the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, or UNESCAP, catalyze as well regional discussion with policymakers and other key stakeholders in order to mainstream intergenerational solidarity, intergenerational relationships, and intergenerational equity, with the voices of the different generations meaningfully represented across various levels, as Singapore, and more importantly, as Dr. Tata has just shown us, it's not just Singapore that has entered the longevity era. Our region is now experiencing and living longevity era. Most of you would know by now that our founder, Marian's grandmother, Madam Saung Yushun, who has laid out a vision that up to today still guides us and continues to inspire us in how we develop our strategic directions, older person-centered, ensuring that each and every one of them, both older men and older women, are empowered, supported, and enabled to age successfully and in place. As a catalyst for constructive change and an innovator, the Foundation reviews and develops new strategic directions after considering evolving landscape at the national and regional levels. When we turned 20 in 2013, there were 2 important shifts that the Foundation has actually catalyzed, and I think we have contributed to a change in the mindset shift. From aging, we reframed aging to longevity. We realized that a lot of us are still looking at older persons as a burden, not realizing, yes, they have challenges, they could be a burden, but they actually have opportunities, they have assets. They could be assets, they could be tapped. And how then to make it more visible? So the foundation decided when we turned 20 that we will reframe aging to longevity, that there is opportunity in longevity. Back then, we were not sure what are those opportunities, but we spearheaded that reframing. The second one is actually looking at adding another dimension to how we look at population aging, longevity, not just at the individual level, also institutional, but at the community level. How important it is to be in the community itself, working and living with the seniors that we work with, and be able to roll out a model that would allow every older person in that community to age in place and age successfully, still living the legacy of Marian's grandmother. And that's how the Committee for Successful Aging was born in 2013. 10 years hence, 10 years hence, we turned 30. We're getting there. We're now still in the young, as per UN definition. When we turned 30 in 2023, we realized that longevity as an opportunity requires not just the current, the next cohort, as well as the future cohort of older people need to have a stronger bond and relationship with each other if we want to fully realize a society for all ages. It doesn't say society just for the current cohort, society for all ages. And therefore, we need to ensure that every cohort would actually be able to be independent, be able to be supported if they need, and to age in place. Still, Madam Sau's very, very visionary vision back in 23. So then we produced actually a video. Only 1 minute. I cut it actually, but I'll show you this video. Can I just click like this? Okay.
Um, well, the oldest person I know is Tyra. She's 92 years old. Like when
How old, Grandpa?
83. The oldest person I know is our uncle. Oh, yeah. His green hair and new hair.
In 1 century, we added more years to life expectancy than all years added across all prior millennia of human evolution combined.
You live 100 years old, you probably live in complex and that started. And then my friend will die. That's hard. What I was sorry there. So
The 100-year life is here, and we're not ready.
Sorry. In Singapore, we are now looking at a 100-year life. And as Dr. Tata said, that 100-year life doesn't know your developed or developing countries. It's upon us. So I think Singapore is in a very good position to, in a way, contribute to the regional longevity by sampling or piloting a lot of these innovations, which has already happened. As I've said, back in 2013, we have already reframed it into longevity. So I think our role then is to then mainstream it in the region as well. We started in 2024. So when we decided to include intergenerational solidarity and equity, we actually started to do a regional study. So we went first to the region. We have a partnership in the region, 9 countries that are members of the Alliance on Longevity in Asia Pacific. Each one of us in the country did a focus group discussions. We did a literature review, the ILC team did that. Then we presented the result of that regional qualitative study at the regional conference on population aging in Bali in 2024. This year, I'm very happy that with the decision and the partnership with UNESCO, we then continue to have this qualitative exploratory study on what is intergenerational solidarity looking like in Singapore context this year. We wanted to examine intergenerational equity. We wanted to assess sustainability implications, and we're exploring caregiving and intergenerational transfers. We managed to organize 8 focus group discussions with a total of 65 participants, the different age groups. So these are the 3 groups that we've met. We did it in different language, English, Chinese, Malay, and participants were recruited via community outreach, networks, and snowballing, ensuring generational and linguistic diversity. Okay, Paula said that we must remember half of us are professional, half of us are individuals as well. Actually, I prepared a game. Look at your table. Get 1 copy of a paper on your table. Let's see. Okay? I'd like you to do this game. Only 3 minutes, not to worry. This piece of paper has got 3 columns. One is the age group, under 12, and then the last is 18 over, and there's a total. There's 2 columns, family and friends. I'd like you to count how many of your family Depends on how you define family, whether it's just an immediate or your extended. How you define family. You count how many is under 12. 13 to 28, 29 to 44, 45 to 60, 61 to 79, 18 over. And then the second column, your friends, your close friends. How many are in each of those age groups? Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes.
Yes. No. Good.
30 seconds. Good exercise of our memory. 15 seconds. I'll count down because it's an intergenerational countdown. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Okay. We're a big group here. Can you raise your hand if you manage to have at least one for each age group? Raise your hand. Raise it higher. Wow. How many age groups is that? 7. The age groups that, wow. There's more here that has more. This one here, a few only. Okay. That's for the family. How many in your friends? How many here have friends, at least one, Sanchita, one age group above you and one age group below you. So your group, your age group, one age above and one age below. Raise your hand. Ah, yes. You are on very good in terms of social network. As in, for you who not understand social network, social isolation, this is very important concepts. But the important thing here is that all of us at the individual level are actually living in an intergenerational network already within our family, multiple generations, and within our friends. So whatever we discuss here very much relates to us as individuals as well. And what we want to encourage everybody is to leverage on our individual relationships to then focus it at the community level as well as at the national level. So that is what we want to do. So now I think we are ready for our panel to be up on stage. We have managed to convince 4 participants from our focus group discussions to join us as panelists this morning to then showcase to you how the methodology that we have done actually works out. We will have a conversation about questions around intergenerational solidarity. Let me introduce them together, and they can go up slowly to the stage. Moana is a very good friend, but she's the senior manager as well of capacity building development at social enterprise NWC longevity practice. She has over a decade of professional academic experience in government and not-profit sector, having spent the last several years in Singapore's health and aging sector. She also has a master in public policy from the same school at the National University of Singapore and a Bachelor of Arts degree from Duke University. Our second panelist is Mr. Albert Lee. Over the past decade, Albert has been caregiving for his parents with the support of his siblings. With 20 years of experience in the social service training and coaching persons with special needs, he brings unique insights into the needs of seniors while they venture into their golden age. The next one is Dr. Poon Quy Hian. He's a versatile and accomplished writer, editor, and publisher in Singapore. A columnist for Taobao and Shin Min Daily News. Dr. Poon has authored 14 books, including novels, poetry, commentaries, essays, and she has 320,000-word dissertation. And the last but not the least, Ms. Sushila Shotam has led a rich life of dedication as a sales clerk, educator, and a devoted mother. From her early career in retail to 12 years at Singapore American School, she later nurtured young minds in kindergartens. Today, she joyfully cherishes time with her children and grandchildren. Now I have to move there now. Sorry. For my ballot. The power of technology. I have to bring all these gadgets with me.
Yeah. Go.
Yeah, I need that. Sorry. I've been having a pad. Say hello to everybody. Maybe just say hello to Moana while I...
Hi, everyone. Thanks again to the ILC team, Susanna, Preeti, and Supriti, who are out and about to organize this panel. And I'm very delighted to share space with my fellow panelists on this very important topic of intergenerational solidarity.
Hi, everybody. I'm Susila here. I'm 72 years old. I was very touched when I was called to come on the panel. It's my first time I'm doing this, and I say, oh, okay. In fact, I thought I would say no because I heard it was here. Because I live in Whampoa, I go to the South Foundation just opposite my house. But since I already committed, I said yes. I didn't want to back out because that's not me. I never back out of anything. So I'm here now, and thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Albert, and I'm almost 50, representing the 40 to 59-year age group. And being the only guy in this panel, I hope that I can bring a different point of view to the discussion. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Hello, good morning, everyone. I have experience in giving talks in many Chinese, but this is my first time involved in the discourse in English. I'm happy to join this.
Thank you. Yeah. You participated in our Chinese focus group discussion. So thank you very much. And I think we will start the conversation. Huh? And then at some point, you could actually join the conversation by using the pigeonhole. Please write down, there are a few questions there. So if you want to ask the same question, just click it. But if you have new question, just add to your question. And then at some point when the gadget comes back, because I successfully managed to close it accidentally, but it will come back at some point. So let's start. Moana, what do you think could be the extent the younger and older people can work together, solving... Part of our discussion focus groups is actually understanding what are the challenges that are shared across all these generations. And we've managed to understand some of those challenges So how do you think we can have both different generations come together to work on this? And then why?
Sure. Thanks, Susanna. So I think that I think just to also echo and reiterate some of the points that were made this morning, we are already living in an intergenerational society, and I think at an individual level, we live in families that are multi-generational. We have hopefully have a lot of older relatives that we come into contact with regularly, and then some of us have children. So I think that it is a part and parcel of our very natural way of living. And I think the other realm of life where a lot of intergenerational connections are made. As I was doing your countdown, I realized that I've been fortunate to make friends in the age groups above and below because of workplace colleagues. And I think these are some very natural spaces that we all come together. So I think it's therefore also very natural that we can come together to work on issues that affect all of us. And I think that can sort of look like more of a mutual aid and support kind of solidarity. So, for instance, I think already within our family units, we do this when it comes to care work, especially in Singapore. I know that many grandparents are activated for childcare for people in my age group, and vice versa. We are also activated to sort of look after our parents and that generation. So that really helps to sort of take the burden of day-to-day life, and especially with rising cost of living, we don't have to always rely on formal services to look after these different groups of people. And then I also think that in workplaces also, I think for me, I always look up to older mentors for advice and support. But on the other hand, when the world is changing so rapidly, especially with technology, and I think this morning Dr. Tata referred to the digital divide, I think as younger colleagues in the workplace, we also have a big role to play in terms of supporting and helping older workers. So I think there are also very natural touch points in which we come together and work together. And I think the fact that there are issues that concern us, and just very simply that at my age, that our experience of life is actually very common. I look at the older people in my life, and I know that, and I have a sense of confidence that my life trajectory can look a certain way. And I think for older persons, maybe because of the lived experience that they've had, there's always a lot of shared experiences and commonalities. And I think intergenerational solidarity and bonding is just very, very natural, at least in my experience.
So in your own personal experience, it is being played out that intergenerational between your older generation. Yeah. Can I ask Albert? Albert, when I introduced you, you said you've been caregiving for your parents with your siblings. Do you think family caregivers could be better supported in Singapore? And why or why not? And if they could be better supported, how?
I mean, this is a very valid question, and that so I need to refer to my notes. I've got very poor memory. I always forget the things I want to share, but I think there's some essential things to highlight about.
Can you hear him?
Are you able to hear me? I'll try to speak a bit louder. So I believe that families definitely will feel more supported, even though Singapore, I think the government's already done a very good job to ahead of the internationally. But it depends on the family dynamics. It depends on every family will have a different issue that they face. So there's a Chinese saying which is 家家有本难念的经, which roughly translates that every family, every home will have a difficult story to tell. So earlier, Paul also highlighted that many of us are wearing half a hat. So I'm wearing half a hat of a professional, but today up here I'm wearing half the hat as the caregiver. I'm the main caregiver for my parents, supported by 4 of my sisters, older sisters who are supporting me. And that so we have to take care of our parents' physical, emotional, and mental health issues that they have. So my sisters are from the sandwich generation. So besides having to care for the evolving needs of caregiving for our parents, they also have to look into the growing pains of taking care of their children. So for myself, I'm the only dink in the family, which is a double income, no kids. So very often, all this will come over to a person like my profile. But more often than not, it is a single lady who's staying at home who will be cared for who's caring for the parents. Yeah, and that generally, when it comes to the needs, they will always be looking out for the question is that if the children are the ones who are taking care, will there be sufficient help to be supported? What about the financial support? I think Singapore can do better. There's definitely a lot more financial assistance can be provided beyond the home caregiving grant, beyond the nursing home support. And with this being expanded, look into the opportunity cost to be rendered for the professionals to take care of the family.
Albert,
You're welcome.
thank you. Very valuable sharing as a caregiver, supported by by his sisters, 4 sisters. Can I ask you, Cecilia? Thank you for saying yes to our invitation. Can I ask you, how can older people help shape policies for future generations?
Hi, sorry. To me, quality and quantity time spent with families, relatives, brothers, sisters, cousins, and even your own children is very, very important. This, as we spend time with them, being the oldest in the family, they see that and they'll definitely bring it forward to help shape for future generations. I'm also learning and educating myself with my granddaughters. I put in a lot of effort to go places with them, to the parks, weekly to the library, and engaging with activities like they read to me, I read to them, going for walks with them, having fun playing games like snakes and ladders, fixing puzzles, memory games is very good for the mind, Scrabbles, even throw and catch the ball. When it comes to throw and catch the ball, I don't run so much because they're always faster than me. One is 7 and one is 5. But I pretend to jog and I pretend, okay, I'm reaching, I'm coming. Mama, that's grandmother in my language, I'm Telugu speaking. Mama, why are you so slow? My younger granddaughter who's 5 will tell me that. Because I'm not so young like you, I will tell her. It's very fun. This is very important. They see all this, which is good for them. And we have lots of art materials at home, like an art room, where we do all kinds of art activities together. We make flowers, we make puppets, we make Play-Dohs. We do all kinds of things together. We color, we can mess up in the drawing block, we buy big marginal papers. This is very important because I'm also thinking with them, I'm learning from them. And to be honest, my granddaughters are very artistic, like their parents, like their father, their mother, and my husband. I'm not the artistic one. So my drawing is always not appropriate to, like you asked me to draw a dog, it might look like a bear. But it's funny because they laugh at it. Mama, is this a dog or bear? I said, you can imagine, art is creative. Even a dot is an art, I tell them, so they learn from that. And also, I have my children. My son is 41, my son-in-law and my daughter is 30. We always make sure we give time to at least have one meal a day together. They can be busy, I don't care. They say, Mommy, I've got work to do. My daughter's a teacher, so I bring home work. I said, it doesn't matter. Dinner is dinner. So we all eat together. And in the dining table, there are a lot of debates, arguments, good and bad, happy and sad. But it always ends up being very positive energy. And this is how I feel that when I do this together with my husband and the children, adult children, they will bring it forward tomorrow to the next generation, to their relatives. Many of them, I feel quite sad. They don't spend time at home with their parents. But I am very adamant. I can get very angry and I say, no, time for the family. You got to give it. Because I gave all the time in the world to my children. I even gave up a very good job in Singapore American School. I loved my job. I worked there for many, many years. But at that time, in 1982, 1983, there was no maids. And I had babysitters who were really hopeless, who never took care of my son well. I had to give up my job for that. In fact, my assistant principal came up to me and told me, I'm going to tear your letter of resignation. I said, I'm sorry, I've got my personal issues. And for me, it's not the money, it's the love and attention for my children. So I gave up there, so my children know that. So when I want something, they know it has, mommy is crumbling, amma is crumbling. And also, with my experience, I believe this can help. Doing together with families can help shape policies for future generations. When we give time to them, they can give it time to outside. And always tell them, don't just think of family, go out, come out of your comfort zone and do for society, which they do in their own ways. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. That's a very, very enriching sharing. Dinner every day. You're a very good role model. How many of us comes back every night, no matter how, comes back for dinner? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Kuyan, I know you have plenty of personal experience. Can you just give us a little bit of your personal experience, how you have managed to work and support each other intergeneration from your family's experience, and how could inspire us, all of us here? Thank you.
Okay, instead of sharing the broader question without concrete example, I would like to share my unique personal life experience on how I bring our three generations together through writing and compiling family book series to preserve and pass down our family's cultures and strengthen our family members' sense of identity and belonging. All the family story represents the cultural heritage of three generations. I am a Chinese newspaper column writer and the writer of 14 Chinese books published over past 20 years. As a mother, I have been writing mother's letter to children for 18 years, since my elder son began studying in the US. Besides these, other family book series I compiled and published include autobiography, photo albums for the family, and 2 children childhood drawing and Chinese and English creative writing. These letters and others family book series has become a treasured family legacy, recording our memories and experiences. Writing our family books has become a habitual part of my life, allowing me to record precious memories for our family over the years. However, these books are not publicly circulated. They are solely shared among our family members. I feel blessed that writing has helped me maintain a higher inner awareness, which I believe will help me in creating a unique approach in my retirement life. During the 2020 pandemic, when dining out is impossible, I share 53 sessions of family story over the weekend home dinner via Apple TV with my children. Thus, my writing project is a living legacy, connecting 3 generations of our family through sharing, creating collective memory. In intergenerational family is a true test arise when caregiving is required.
Speaking of that, Dr. Kuyan, I want to ask you, because right now you have 3 generations and you're doing a lot of these things. Could you tell us, in your perspective, how can older persons help younger family members learn about the important issues around care and the caregiving? Ken?
Care is about human relationship, but even more so, it is about, like Chinese say, 人情. It's a concept in Eastern values that embodies both morality and emotion. It represents a relationship of emotional courage and moral courage. It is about our existence with others, and it is the shared existence that constitutes our true, complete being. Only in this way can we find meaning in care. In intergenerational relationship within the longevity family, the accumulation of emotional bonds to deepening the relationship over time is most crucial. My writing and publishing a series of family books for my original extended family and my own nuclear family serve as a rich treasuries of these accumulated feelings. In intergenerational families, younger members can learn from the experience from their elders. Such experience never go out of style, especially when it comes from the wise seniors who can refine their knowledge into the timeless wisdom, passing it down through the generation just as we today still learn from the timeless thinkers and classical texts dating back thousands of years. On the other hand, elders could also learn from the younger generation who stay ahead in the digital age and excel in finding information and solving problems through technology. Where there are intergenerational conflict and intergenerational competition, there are also opportunity for intergenerational win-win outcomes. For example, in a 3 generations family, the different parenting style of parents and grandparents can actually provide the 3rd-generation children with a more diverse environment, offering a well-rounded upbringing. Intergenerational interaction, mutual support, and culture transmission definitely benefit the child's growth. If elder family members feel valued and can actively contribute, their physical and mental well-being improve. Meanwhile, children observing how their parents treat their grandparents naturally learn to respect and care for their own parents in return. When family intergenerational relationship achieve the ideal mutual benefit, cooperation and love, harmony and success across 3 generations.
Thank you very much for that very rich experience. Actually, this is one of later on in the summary I'll give of the key preliminary findings. The core site of where intergenerational interactions is happening is still the home, the family. Very, very crucial. Dinner every day, this kind during pandemic, using technology to still connect the different generations through leveraging on her asset. Her asset being able to write stories and tell that, and that will be passed on from generations to generation. So very interesting. Let me ask Cecilia, what about yourself? How do you feel? So on one hand, she talks about how care, the context within the family can be. I'd like to ask you, how do you feel about receiving help? You've been a very, very strong grandmother, mother, teacher, all rolled into one. A very active, I know you're a very active leader at COMSA Club as well, and very important member of COMSA. How do you feel about receiving help from family or the community where you belong as you continue to age and live longer in the community?
I would not like to receive help from my family because I've been very independent since I was 16 years old. I studied, I finished my Cambridge education. I couldn't go further because at that time you couldn't take bank loan. So I had to work and I did all kinds of jobs as sales, as clerks, and I went into teaching, which was one of the best jobs that I ever did. So I've been very independent since then. The role model in my life is my mom. I lost my dad when I was 3 years old. My youngest brother was only 6 months baby. And my mom had a very rich life. She had a maid, she had a driver, she stayed in a very big house with a gardener and cook. So rich, but when my father died, it was on Deepavali Day itself, and that was a shock to her. And of course, I didn't know anything. I was 3 years old. In fact, I heard that me and my sister was 5, another brother we're just playing and running around because we didn't know what was happening. And my mother was in a state of shock because she lost everything after that. My father was a very big entrepreneur in Singapore. He did very well, and somehow everything she lost, we did not know how. We're still talking about it sometimes in the family. But she was a very strong woman. From a very big house in Balmoral Road, where the whole place was ours, she had to go and live in Kerbau Road in a small room with 8 of us. We only used to eat dal. So as my growing years, I used to see her. But she was very strong. She took care of us. And there's always 3 good meals for us to eat in our growing years. So when I kept saying this, I do not want to ask help from my family. My mother never asked. Even 5 cents, when she didn't ask. I have struggled a lot in my life. When I gave up a Singapore American school job, it was a big salary to take home, and my husband was working in a tourist line. And in the 1980s itself, the cost of living was starting to get high. I remember my mother told me, the Singtel went private. How are you going to manage, Sushila? Oh, Amma, you can do it. We will do it, definitely. That's what I told her. And that's how life got. And with one income, it was really down. It was very difficult for my husband and me to bring up 2 children. I'm very proud to say I've educated them. I've sent them to university, and they're very darling children. My son, my daughter, and my son-in-law. In fact, my son-in-law is more than a son to me today. I'm very blessed with that. So I'm very happy with that. And my mom, she couldn't read English. She pretended. She put the Straits Times in front of her and read. And we thought, wow, mom is reading English. She couldn't read, but she sent us to school from primary 1 to sec 4. And then we found out later, Mom, we cannot read English. That's how I brought you all to study, so you all would study well. It was not easy to bring up 8 of us. And all 8 of my siblings, all of us are very different in so many ways. I was the bubbly one who never took life serious. And I had a sister who was academically very, very high, and she's very close to me. She always says, stop playing around. I said, no, I want to be like you. You're a bookworm. No, you know. But I'm very proud of her. She still loves me. She's in America. And that's how my family has never asked for help. Only my sister wanted to go to university. She was the only one who fought for it. She told my brother, you have to send me. I don't care how. I want to go to university. I was the quieter one in that way. I thought, no, I'm not going to ask my brothers to support me. But she supported herself. She went to university. And as she got a good job, she was in the university, a lecturer there. She supported me when I was taking side courses like shorthand, typewriting, and so on. I used to work at the age of 16 and a half after my Cambridge exam. I used to work in the day. At night, I used to go to learn courses. And I was very blessed. When I was very young itself, when I used to go for my courses, I had a cousin who would drive me. Her mother would never want to leave me alone. No, she needs someone. She had this thing that I needed a family member to always be with. But I was lucky. I was always being driven. Anyway, that was my life, and I will never want to ask my family for help.
Your family, I know you're very active in the community, and there's one question actually, I'll bring now all of you into this conversation, just to kind of like, what about the community?
Yes, the community.
Is that a potential for you to seek help, if ever you need help? I know right now you're very much independent and everything. How do you see the role of the community to support older people, not necessarily yourself, but others who may need help?
I think a lot of
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. I think a lot of, as I see society, I've been doing a lot of social work since the age of 35. And I've seen a lot of people very sad when do not, especially the parents, they do not want to go out and meet, socialize, or do service. My home is my home. That's my comfort zone. I came out of my comfort zone to go to society because I felt that this is not good enough. I cannot be selfish. We have, each of us are actually, to me, I believe, born to serve society in whatever small ways we can. And I did that.
Definitely. You're doing that very well. And I like to, you're such an inspiration because you said your home and your families, but then you realize that you actually can do more by becoming more involved in the community. Let me ask Albert now. Albert, resources sharing between the young and the old, and within the context of the community, and the family, how do you think we can catalyze that stronger resource sharing from the family to the community, especially in terms of provision of care?
So earlier the MC actually said it very well that not just a village to raise a child, it takes a kampong to really help to care for a senior adult. And the burden of caregiving really shouldn't be just the family members. It should be the community as a whole to grow together and learn together. So whether you are a single child or you are like my family, of which I have 4 siblings to it. So imagine if there's a society, the more experienced caregivers will pull together their resources and share it with the younger caregivers, so they don't have to embark onto this caregiving journey on their own for the first time. And earlier, I think as Professor Tata actually had highlighted, that there's a role for the community to play to really support the families. So what kind of role we can be looking at? So it could be a case of, like for example, Caregivers Alliance, when I was volunteering for them, I see how the more experienced caregivers come back and share their know-hows and learnings to the ones who are new on the journey. So this, instead of it being very organically done in a very small scale, that's why it's done at Caregivers Alliance, it can be done in a more structured way, maybe even nationwide, to provide this kind of signposting where there is sharing of good practices. The caregivers will be coached through some form of documentation of how to be able to do this. So this will be what I feel that it's possible that the community can come together. Maybe I just highlight one more extra point, is that the caregiving for our parents is really, from a guy's point of view, is like project management. You're really literally doing a special project. And when you have special project management, you are going to have other members who don't follow your instruction all the time. They have their own intention, own way of doing things. Then you can have a disparity in the way that caregiving is being done. And this is an unpaid project management. Then the service delivery, because of the parents are so comfortable with one particular person providing a service, most of the time they will want to request service from that individual. So hopefully there can be more conversations, to have this kind of difficult conversations, so there can be good caregiving to be provided and not good enough caregiving. That's my sharing. Thank you.
I would like to, interest of time, I think I can ask 2 more questions before I ask one last question. There's a few questions interesting from the Pigeonhole. Where is it now? Workforce. Maybe Moana could help us. How can we promote intergenerational workforce and learning?
Yeah, so I mentioned this at the beginning, and I think that I think in workforces, in my experience at least, there's been a lot of learning, and very naturally, I think for younger members of the workforce to look up to and learn from older members. But I think especially, and I'm speaking for myself, although I'm here to represent the youth category, I'm a little bit in towards the end of that category, and I have to acknowledge that I think when it comes to as we get older, to support even younger workers, I think, or new staff or younger people who are just joining the workforce, I think there is a lot more that those of us who are maybe some 10, 15 years into the workforce, I think there's a lot more that we can do to look out for and be more proactive, I think, in supporting younger workers. Because I think a lot of workplaces have the hierarchy where you're reporting to someone who's older, more senior, and tends to be older. And I think those opportunities for learning and growing become more natural. But I think as we are sort of in a mid-career or getting to mid to senior career, I think we have a little bit more responsibility, I would say, in my age group, to kind of support or look out for younger workers, make sure that they feel like they know what they're doing, have the resources, rather than think that, oh, they're new and I can't really, there's nothing I have to learn from them. So I think being more open to younger coworkers, especially, would be something to do in the workforce.
Thank you, Moana. Okay, a very interesting question here. Across different generations, what is the one value that you think we need to put in the past? And what's the one value that should be for the future? I think we kind of see. Just one. Expound a little bit about why you think that one value is something that outdated already, something that we don't want to keep on, but something to look forward to. What is the one value from your generation that you think would help future generations to be as resilient as you all are right now? Maybe we start with Albert. We go that way.
So again, I'll use a Chinese idiom. I think one value that I feel that should not be in existence is 家丑不可外扬. A lot of times, whenever your family...
Can you
Yes.
translate?
Exactly, I'll do a translation because it means that any family problem, you don't put it outside the family. And this is a very Chinese concept, but it could be a very Asian concept too. It is not the right thing. Whenever we have problems, we don't just hide it. If the community can come together and have a conversation, we can have a diversity of thought and the new value to come in is the inclusiveness and the diversity of thought to make sure that the diversity is not just from the older seniors, from the younger person. The Gen Zs have wonderful ideas. Do not just exclude their ideas that they have. So that would be the two values that I'd like to share. Thank you.
Cecilia, what do you think?
Only I think that here in Singapore, I forgot. Yeah, for me, I believe that there's so many community centers in Singapore. They can do much more, and in fact, they're already doing a lot, and they can do much more to get neighbors together or have a food. Each family cook a food and share the food and have script writing, sing together, dancing together. This can, in a way, strengthen the relationships between generations to generations and have fun games for them. This is what I would say.
Thank you. Juana?
Yeah, I think very similar to what Albert said. I think it's not just about not being open to outside help, but also realizing that our issues are connected and interconnected. And if we are able to be more active and involved in the community, and if we have a value of being open-minded to learning and growing, I think the more we're involved and involved in the community, the more we're likely to see how it helps to rely on each other and actually be comfortable to depend on each other the more we're involved in the community. So yeah, I'd say that.
Thank you, Moana. Let's bring the technology. Dr. Tata has said one of the 5 mega trends is technology. How do you think rapidly changing technologies will influence intergenerational solidarity? Do you think it will harm or will it help? Whoever is ready to. Yes?
Yeah, hello. Okay, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, I feel that there's too much going on in technology in today's world where especially the younger generations are not even interacting with their grandparents or the mother much. From what I see, even when I go out to have a lunch or dinner, some parents are also on the technology, the children on the technology. There's no interaction. And I think that's very sad. And I think the technology is good. Like we need the handphones for important news, etc. But there's too much going on in the technology where I feel that it's not good. Maybe it could even damage a person's mind. Probably they could even have some kind of energy from the phone when they're home, which is not good for their body. This is my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody, Albert?
Maybe I'll have a slightly different opinion.
Yes,
So
of course.
you always need to have balance,
That's
isn't
the
it?
interesting side of this conversation. Yes,
So for
Albert.
example, for my nieces and nephews who resides in Germany, this is the way that they can use video call to connect with my parents. So for technology, if it's used appropriately, it really connects. Think about during the pandemic. That is the time when we have a lockdown. We are still able to communicate with our loved ones. Without the technology, what would have happened to our intergeneration relationships and conversations? So it's a thought for us to think about. Thank you.
One other area that's interesting, we live in a multicultural, multi-language. We try as much as best we can. We try to have the different languages. The differences between the language proficiency, I like the story of Cecilia. She says her mom put the Straight Times table. All the children thought she can read English when in fact she was. But that inspired all 8 of them to then learn English and be proficient and really went on to excel. But we know the reality is that the intergenerational, there is a differences in terms of language spoken. Perhaps how can we bring about better communication in a reality where you may be speaking different languages at home? Slightly difficult question for everybody, but I think interesting. Yes, Moana.
I think in the home environment, it's a little bit easier. If it's with a family member, you still have that shared bond that you're part of the same family. I think it's a little bit harder when we're trying to form intergenerational bonds outside the family, because building trust with each other, you need to form that relationship, and language definitely plays a big part. But I think, I think like at least in my experience interacting with older generations, there's always some commonalities. There's nonverbal communication. There's if you've lived in Singapore, you have similar points of reference. Simple things like have you eaten or not. There's simple ways to communicate. It is definitely more difficult, but there are starting points where you can form those bonds.
So, do you want to answer?
Technology for me is not very good, but it's also good. You see how you use it, especially and quite fully use of the WhatsApp, because I can express very well. So I always use the WhatsApp to contact, to communicate with my friends and my family member in that. That one helps me a lot. I can express instantly.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. And I think we still have last question, or can I ask one last question before we go to the summary? I have one last question actually for everybody. If there's one thing that Singapore could do to strengthen relationships between generations, what could it be? So this is the most difficult question. If you're asked only one thing that we can do in Singapore to strengthen and improve intergenerational relationships, what is it? You want to?
Strengthening any relationship, whether intergenerational or among peers, is fundamentally about human connections. All good relationships require kind expression and respond to showing appreciation, giving compliments, expressing thanks, and offering sincere apologies. These principles are actually common knowledge, but in the society that largely lack humanistic sensibility, many individuals have lost the acts of genuine appreciation and gratitude. Instead, they display cold detachment with emotions as wooden as the expression on their faces. Transforming this situation requires a grassroots approach. We need to integrate comprehensive humanistic education into children's life from an early age, both at home and in school.
Thank you, Kuyan. Albert, what do you think?
So for myself, I will use the analogy of a fabric. If you look at cloth fabric, for them to weave together to become like a patchwork kind of blanket, you need to have the different generation to be really interlocked so that you'll be very strong. So with this, the tapestry of lifelong learning, one thing that was highlighted is about learning earlier by Professor Tata also. Lifelong learning to happen, there needs to be this intergenerational inclusion, acceptance, there's a diversity of thoughts that the younger generation can learn from the older generation and the older generation can learn from the younger generation. And just to end, what I want to share is that earlier I mentioned 家家有本难念的经, which is what I shared earlier. But hopefully in the future there will be 国家有一本公开的谱, as in 食谱. So it means that if the country actually has an open book, an open recipe book that everybody can go back in to refer to instead of learning from themselves, then all of us can be the master chefs in our own life, whether you're young or whether you're old. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert. Cecile?
I feel that my family, where the youngest is 5 and the oldest is 86 years old. And there's a big gap. There are teenagers, young children, adults, 30 years old, 40 years, and so on. And my sister will make sure she organizes Chinese New Year to get together. We have the Lohe, Deepavali, and Christmas. That's the time we can see the whole family. And besides that, you can hardly see them. Everybody's working, everybody's busy in their own life. So this get together, sometimes the younger generation say, especially the teenagers say, oh, I've got no time, I'm not coming, but my sisters all must come. And this one thing in my family, when one elder person says something, they all have to listen. They come, but there'll be different sittings, the teenagers one side, the youngsters one side, the adults one side, the 40 years old one side. No, we don't allow that. We get everyone to go and sit in the veranda or the balcony together. Of course, some of them are not happy because what are they doing with the older generation, right? Especially when 80 years old, and you got to give respect to whatever they say, But this for many years up to today. Now, I still started it when I was at the age of 30. Now I'm 70. We have it every year. Families come in not happy, but they leave a lot of energy. And that's the only bond together we have. And in my family, I have all different races. I have 5 brothers and 3 sisters. I have Chinese sisters-in-law, American sisters-in-law, Indonesian sisters-in-law, and Australian.
Wow, multicultural as
Yeah,
well.
so we are actually a multi-racial generation together. And it's very nice to have this.
Thank you. Thank you. And Moana?
Yeah, I think it's so great that there are some, for many people, there's a lot of the big families. And I think that, but it's also true that many of us, especially if our family members are in other countries and transnational families, it may not be so easy to have those multi-generational bonds. And I think the simplest thing is starting with your neighbor, people who live in your area. I found it very easy to make conversations and build relationships with at least older persons living in my neighborhood. I'm a little bit intimidated by Gen Z, so I haven't gone down. But I think just making friends with people around you and starting conversations on an individual level, I think is a great way to start a community and intergenerational bonding.
Thank you, Moana. Thank you. Please give them a round of applause, our panelists for today. And these are the things that we discussed at the focus group discussions. And let me bring you to the key preliminary, because I'm conscious of the time. Is the PowerPoint going to be up there? There's a second set of slides. Yeah. So really, thank you for all. This panel is really how we wanted to showcase to you how participatory and conversations and dialogues has got to be intentional also to make it happen, to provide and catalyze these platforms and dialogues for intergenerational interactions to happen. So Sao Foundation, working now with UNESCO and the rest of all of you, were hoping that we could actually catalyze more similar kind of conversations and dialogues to the different communities where you are working right now and you are living right now. So I think that's the intent and the aim of this panel discussion. Are the slides ready? Oh, I need to say some more. I could always, okay, there you go. Technology has helped us. Okay, please bear in mind that we haven't fully complete so these are key preliminary findings, and I only have, so my challenge is I have less than 3 minutes. Okay, but, now the challenge is I cannot move. Can you move? Okay. So just to give you a flavor of what are the themes that's coming out of the focus group discussions, we can tell you, and there will be a report by next month. Yes, we're writing the report and we're continuing the conversation. Analysis of the theme. Actually, I have a very small team. But we can tell you that these are the themes. Generational self-perception. Each of the generations, how do they perceive themselves? The second theme that's coming out is how do they perceive each other? Very interesting themes that's coming out of that. The third is, where are these intergenerational interactions happening right now, and how are we experiencing it across Singapore? The fourth one is shared challenges. I can tell you one of the things that is shared challenge across generations is the rising cost of living. And then the way forward. What are the things that we can do together and what are the things we could actually explore? And I can tell you a little bit some of the, okay, so interesting. I think the slides will be shared after but these are just to give you a flavor. So this is how the elderly thinks of the youth: respectful, they're adaptable, a little bit impatient, less filial, overly influenced by values. How the youth and mature look at the elderly: admiring for resilience, definitely, and activeness, but need to have a bit of listening, hard to advise. And the youth itself, actually the youth is a huge generation. There's two generations, the Gen Z and then the Moana's age group. Because it's, according to UN, it's 18 to 40. But those are two generations already. They are seen, so the youth, thinking of the even younger than themselves, they think of them as, they see them as confident but lacking resilience. They're tech savvy and vocal about mental health, but they're emotionally fragile. And there is a generation gap growing within even the youth. So that is could be something exciting for us to also work on and look further. Okay, so this is where, as I've said, family is still the core site for where a lot of these dinners together, celebrating all the things that we can celebrate together, friendships, community, being part of the community, being out there involved, workplace, not so much, but we need to also increase and enhance this at the workplace. Neighborhood, there's a lot of happening, all the active agent centers and everything. And then, of course, the community. As I've said, cost of living, loss of community cohesion, and policy gaps are the three shared challenges and how they perceive policies right now. The recommendations are very interesting: how to strengthen, how to boost, and how to shift. So there's very good, rich data that we can share with you on how, and then some recommendations about policy. And the last one is really around what are opportunities. We always talk about the foundation is always, yes, there are challenges, but we always look at what are the opportunities and how can we leverage all these opportunities to meet the challenges and create solutions, co-create solutions across generations. So these are the things that happening. Last year, when we did the regional study on intergenerational, we actually developed, the foundation has developed this model of looking at what are the 5 critical components to improve and enhance intergenerational solidarity and equity. And these are the 5 C's. We're in Singapore. We always love the C's, right? We're offering 5 C's: communication, culture. Now I'm challenged now. My confidence, connections, and commitment. Yeah. So the 5 C's. You can read up on this. We will definitely engage you at some point to be able to. But what we're seeing is the results of the focus group discussions right now are actually, to a certain extent, aligning with this. We can see the trend that these 5 are being validated. And the researchers among this group, let's talk more about how we can do more together to be able to understand and enrich this model that we have developed last year. And with that, I leave you a nice quotation. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Moana, Susila, Albert, and Kuyan. Thank you.